The following has been brought to you by RockSolidFanClub.ca.
We have a man who didn't focus on bodybuilding, but more so focused on a certain style of working, who was at this past weekend's AEW All In event from the UK, Wembley Stadium, which was a fantastic event. If you haven't seen it, check it out. There's a little bit of everything for anyone. And yeah, I'll leave it at that. But inside of that gauntlet, we've seen things like Nigel McGuinness come out, which everybody loves Nigel McGuinness, and it was awesome to see him back out there in the ring doing what he loves. We had the debut of Ricochet inside of AEW and making his debut. We had a lot of crazy stuff going on in that gauntlet. But one person, and this is the person I'm talking about, who never really focused on the bodybuilding side, but only focused on the work rate side. And it seemed to be that work that they were doing was very unique to the country that he's from, and that is one Zack Sabre Jr. Chris, I'm going to toss this off to you. What are your thoughts on Zack Sabre Jr., and what are your thoughts on Zack Sabre Jr.'s career?
Here's the thing that, I mean, Zack is obviously very, very decorated in what he does. But then if you're going to break it down, you have to ask yourself why and where. Because Zack Sabre Jr. is also a guy, well, listen, okay, I can't call him. We're going to call him by his name.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start this whole thing off right. So Jimmy Uggles, right, because that's his name. Jimmy Uggles here breaks into the business, and he's got a very specific style. We're talking guys like Johnny Saint. We're talking guys like William Regal, Dave Taylor, you know, guys like that. Very, very technical, very step into the next move. A lot of like imaginary stretch holds, a lot of like, oh, I got you now, but you really don't.
A lot of fingering,
a lot of oil checking, right? A ton of oil checking.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: as good as he is, obviously Jimmy's got a couple of issues with some offices, because he was one of the guys. I mean, remember that Cruiserweight Classic that the WWE did?
He worked Tyson Dukes in the opening, and that was an interesting match.
Really that's what I remember.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys this. And I'm gonna ask you this, Mike.
Yeah.
In reference to that Cruiserweight Classic, then, which was, I mean, turned out to be a fiasco and a half. Like, it really did nothing for them. It created a 205 live event for 3.5 minutes, it seemed like, but that was pretty much about it. It weeded everybody out of there. But his attitude and his unwillingness to conform to that WWE model was really what kept him out of the company then, right?
Mm-hmm.
What do you remember from his whole Cruiserweight Classic moments in WWE? And were you excited to see him in WWE? Did you know who he was before then?
Not so much, but like I followed a little bit before, but more like watching for Tyson in that match was what it was. And I was more studying what Tyson was doing in that. The style for me was a little different than what I'm used to, you know, watching for what I enjoy. It was different. Like, I enjoy that British style. So like, for what it is, like, I enjoyed the match, right? Like, for me, it was enjoying watching Tyson's work in that and watching the opportunity for him with that, right? But work rate wise, like, I'm not one to judge on that really. You know, he's done really well for himself, right? Like, for where the style was then and where it is now is like day and night difference, right? So it was almost like the early stages of a style evolving and working with the guys, like how our style is up here, right? Of working compared to him, right? Like, it's obviously when styles are coming together earlier on, it's going to be different, right?
It's interesting. You bring up a good point with that, like his style kind of evolving and being able to grow into something. And I wonder if that's because of the time that he spent in New Japan, because that's what he did after WWE. Definitely. Instead, he decided to go and sign that deal with them. Now, being there, they're very much like, they don't care about the over and the selling and the emotion that comes along with professional wrestling the way that WWE does, because WWE wants everything all in the face, and that's, you know what I mean, that's how you sell and emote to the crowd, blah blah blah. New Japan is all about like what we do inside of the ring. So when you have somebody throwing that style in there against a bunch of Japanese workers who are just willing to take it and go where you want them to go and do what you want them to do, it really gives Jimmy a chance to up his game, right?
What do you keep calling him by his shoot name?
Because that's his name.
Jimmy Uggies.
Jimmy Uggles.
Jimmy.
Okay, sorry, it's Jimmy Eatwell.
It's Eatwell, which
Jimmy
did
Uggles
not look like that's happened.
This is the thing. He doesn't look like that typical guy, but he's
built like a bowling pin.
You have Johnny Saint didn't look like what you thought a wrestler looked like back then, right? Robbie Brookside doesn't look like what you think. You know, William Regal, just a very thick dude, but always does that thing. By the way, shout out William Regal. Shout out William Regal and the greatest wrestling move of all time. Anytime that you get hit, boom, full blast forearm across the back of those shoulder blades, and you take a back bump out of it, I mean, that's got to be next level, right? That's got to be next level stuff, right?
Dave Taylor was always kind of a wonky built guy too. He was very heavy set in the chest and small arms. A lot of these guys have small arms. Do they not have dumbbells and bench presses in fucking England? Like, what's going on over there? We got to get Steve Swift on this.
I mean, the clotheslines and forearms that wears you down.
There you go.
It stretches them out like making noodles.
Some days you hit a good clothesline and your bruise pretty good. You're not training arms hard for a while. Like I've noticed the difference in training
So Zack Sabre Jr. is pretty big up in the office in New Japan. It sounds like that's where he's going to be full time now. I guess he's going to be, pretty much running the show. So shouts out to Zack for the things that he does in the business side of it. But when I see Zack on TV, I already know what I'm going to get. I feel like it's been the same thing since PWG. I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but I kind of find it boring now with him. I feel like I feel like the only time he sells is when he's buying time in between spots for people when he's in these multi-man matches, and he just lays there flat like an angel. Like, he doesn't sell anything until he's just out of the way for a second. But that's it.
That's why I wish that he would have taken some time and spent more time developing that end of stuff with some of the people at WWE. You know what I mean? Instead of like, he didn't want to take that deal. New Japan was doing stuff at the same time, and I'm sure that he had a lot more freedom to do what he wanted to do with New Japan.
I've heard he shoot tough as fucking nails though, like legit fucking tough guy, which is that makes you respect anybody when they can handle themselves. And then
that's always the thing. That's always the thing that you got to hear. You know what I mean? And hopefully that is the thing, because in the world of professional wrestling, as well as I do, right? You're reliant on that other person holding still for you.
Imagine he was just like fucking Haku. Like 20 years from now, people talk about Zack Sabre Jr. like ripping some dude's eyeball out at a fucking pub in Ireland or something. They're just like, fuck, that guy's crazy.
The only way that would have happened is if he actually crawled into the eye socket to do it. Like a pipe cleaner.
Yeah. Thanks for watching that video. If you like that video and you want to see some other stuff, check out our catalog here on YouTube, or you can find us on any podcast provider anywhere in the world.
Yep.
TheLawSportCards.com, the best in Canada. NHL, NBA, NFL, MLB, Pokemon, UFC, WWE. TheLawSportCards.com, the hobby's best friends. That's TheLawSportCards.com.
RockSolidFanClub.ca gives you full access to Canada's leader in professional wrestling, featuring legends like Mick Foley, modern megastars such as Cody Deaner, and future sensations like Tyler Turva. RockSolidFanClub.ca offers exclusive series, podcasts, live streams, specials, and full events, all for less than $9 a month. Sign up today at rocksolidfanclub.ca, where real fans get it.